yogis, welcome back to the mat. My name is Lauren and today I will share with you some spine stabilization techniques and exercises that I learned from training with Bernie Clark and Stuart McGill. Our spine is super mobile despite being what keeps us upright. Our abdominal and back muscles work to secure the spine to safely move through its range of motion. So today we will begin to strengthen these muscles. Some of these drills are quite demanding, and as always I encourage you to take the breaks that you need, maybe holding some of the poses for less time or doing any modifications that you need, for example putting your knees down in plank. We'll start by finding a kneeling position, using any props here that you need to support you. When you're ready, bring the hands onto the belly and close down the eyes. And turn your attention to the breath. As you inhale, feeling the belly, feeling the hands come up. And as you exhale, the belly falls. Inhale into the belly, letting it expand. And exhale, letting the air slowly come out. Take 3 more rounds of this breath with your own timing. Continuing to fill up the belly, noticing how your hands rise and fall. Once you've completed those extra rounds, returning to your natural breath and slowly blinking the eyes open. I'll run you through a quick core engagement technique, and it's quite different from the sort of typical cues you get in yoga, for example, scooping the belly button up and in towards the spine. So this one works if you bring your hands to the sort of sides of your belly. Bring your pinky finger to press right at the top of your hip bone, and your thumb comes to the base of your spine here, and noticing the distance between the two. The middle 3 fingers just press against where they sit, but you want to use your core to press out against the fingers. So as we move today, let's try and keep this bracing and spacing. So trying to keep that distance between the pinky and the thumb, as well as that pressure on our fingertips. And just to get the feel of this, we'll rise up to stand on our knees, moving slowly so that you can keep that bracing and spacing. And then slowly coming back to sit on the heels. And do this a few times, noticing that it's quite tricky to not only keep the engagement the whole time, to not let the pinky and the thumb come closer together. The idea behind this method is that we are strongly supporting the spine with our abdominal muscles, but while the spine is in a neutral position, so we're still maintaining that natural curve of the spine. And the idea behind this is that our spine is so much more secure and stable when it's load-bearing in its neutral position. So the next time that your hips are back on your heels, just remove the hands from your sides, knowing that you can still do this exercise, but without having the hands reminding you. So we'll bring the hands out in front of us, and we'll circle them forward, around to the right, back, over to the left, and back in front, like we're stirring a big pot or churning butter. And these circling movements can gradually become larger so that you're having to engage your core and back muscles to stop you from toppling over, especially as you lean back. And then coming back in the other direction, this time moving towards the left first and over towards the right. Very good. Coming back to center. Come forward into tabletop, checking that the hands are underneath the shoulders and the knees are underneath the hips. We'll do a few rounds of cat-cow, and today focusing on the spine, feeling it ripple back and forth as we move between the poses. So as we inhale, the tailbone points up to the sky, creating an arch through the spine. Chest reaching forward. As we turn our gaze upwards, our neck compresses slightly here. And as we exhale, tailbone tucks under, rounding through the spine, chin tucks into chest, elongating through our neck. Inhale, tailbone points to the sky, belly drops, chest forward. Exhale, rippling through the spine into cat. Completing a few more rounds with the timing of your own breath. Moving as slowly as you need to really feel that articulation through the spine. And after the next time you find yourself in cat, just coming back to a tabletop position. I'll now guide you through some drills that I learnt from Dr. Stuart McGill, who is a doctor who specialises in spinal health and spinal movement. So the first one is bird dog, and it's a little bit different to how we would normally do it. So bring your right arm forward in front of you, and it might help to clasp the hand into a fist. We then send the left leg back behind us, but not lifting it as much as we typically would, just lifting it a few centimeters so that the toes are off the mat. Really press that back heel backwards while we remain stable here, making sure that you're still using that bracing and spacing, so pressing out to the sides of your trunk. And then coming back to tabletop. We'll rest here for a moment. We'll come back in doing the same side, so the right fist comes forward and then lifting the left leg. Again, trying to maintain that distance between the top of the hip and the bottom of the rib cage here. And lower down to tabletop. We'll move on to the other side. So this time bring the left arm out in front of you, forming a fist. When you're ready, lift the right leg, pressing the heel away from you. Toes of that right foot is flexing back towards your face. And checking if you've got that bracing and spacing set up. Then lower on down to tabletop. Taking a moment here. Then lifting that left arm forward, forming that fist, and extending the right leg back. Making sure that that back leg is only being lifted a little, so making sure that it's not in line with the rest of your body, but it does kind of peter down. Pressing the sides of the belly outwards. And then coming back down. Coming back into child's pose. Come forward, back to tabletop, and we'll set up for a forearm plank. So bringing your hands onto biceps just to make sure that you've got the right distance between the elbows on the mat. And then you can either bring the hands straight out in front of the elbows with the palms facing down, or you might like to bring the hands together, clasping them, just doing whatever feels better for your body. When you're ready, dropping the hips into your plank. And it's up to you. You could stay here, or you might like to lift the knees. Know that if you do decide to lift the knees, you can always come back down onto them. Checking that you've got that bracing and spacing. And at any point in the video, if you feel like you've forgotten what this should be, go back towards the start and redo that first exercise where we kneel up and then kneel down. Very good. Drop the knees, come back to your child's pose. Come forward, moving back into your forearm plank. Knees are up or down. Gaze is straight down so that your neck is in a neutral position. We'll slowly rotate on the feet. Come into a side plank facing the left side of the room. That left hand can come up onto the hip. You might like to swivel that right arm so that the fingertips point towards the left side as well. Just finding what feels better for you. Lifting the hips here. And knowing that we're about to rotate back to our standard forearm plank, see if you can do so slowly and maintaining that bracing and spacing. Great job. And we'll move over to the side plank on the other side. So this time, turning to face the right side of the room. This time, that right hand can come onto the hip. And checking that the feet are not stacked here. It's totally fine if they are stacked. It just makes it so much harder and there's not any extra benefit. But again, for some of us that might feel easier. So just doing whatever works for you. Keeping those hips lifted and slowly with control coming back to our forearm plank. Lower the knees if you haven't already and pushing back into child's pose. Enjoying that well-earned rest. We're almost done. We've just got one more drill to go. Coming forward now and dropping onto your belly so that you can roll onto your back. With the knees bent and the soles of the feet on the floor, bring your hands underneath the curve of the lumbar spine so that they're filling up that space between the spine and the mat. So not on your sacrum like we typically would. The idea is that we're supporting this natural curve in our spine. And straighten the right leg out so that you've just got your left leg bent. Now this exercise is called mini curl-ups, and you might want to have a look before you give it a go yourself. It's quite simple, but it does feel a little bit counterintuitive when you hear the instructions. So while you're lying here, picking a spot on the roof that's straight above your face and maintaining this head position. Lift your chest so that it comes about 3 to 5 centimeters off the ground. So we're really not lifting it much at all. Maintaining that bracing that we learned earlier to support our back. And then slowly lowering to the ground. So this is what we call a mini curl up. Now it may not look as tricky as a normal sort of sit up, but trust me, once you try it, it is very difficult. So we'll do 2 more together now. Making sure that you're supporting your spine using your muscles like we learned earlier. As you inhale, lift the chest. just so that your upper back is hovering off the mat, keeping your head in that neutral position and coming back down. Switch up the legs, so bending back into that right knee, this time extending the left leg, and changing the stack of the hands underneath your lower back so that the other one is on top. Taking a moment to prepare. On your next inhale, rising that chest up. Holding a little longer here, remembering to breathe. And coming back down. Nice job. Hug the knees into the chest. Rocking gently from side to side here, giving your spine a lovely massage. The arms come wide. Drop the knees over towards the left. If it feels good, your gaze can be over that right shoulder. Just letting your body rest. Twists are really great for our spinal health, particularly for our discs. What happens when our spine twists like this is the discs are compressed and allowing the fluid within them to be squeezed out, so that when we come back to a neutral position, the discs are clear and ready to soak up some fresh fluid. Bring the head back to center, press into the arms, making sure that the core is braced and spaced. Bring the knees back up to center and over towards the right. This time the gaze can be over the left shoulder. Twists have a really neutralizing effect on the body. So if you've been working hard or your back just feels really achy and sore, you should definitely give some twists a go. Press into your arms, engage the knees, bringing them back to center. Giving them one last juicy hug here. Perhaps your forehead comes to your knees. And on an exhale, the head drops back down onto the mat. Legs come out long, the arms by your sides with the palms facing up. Shavasana. I encourage you to stay here for as long as you like, giving the body the rest that it worked hard for today. If you'd like to learn more about these techniques that we use today, type into Google Dr. Stuart McGill, The Big Three, and it'll walk you through these exercises in more detail, how they work, and any variations that you can use. I'll pop a link for you in the description below. If you enjoyed the core work today, I invite you to try the Courageous Core class that I did, or if you'd like to find some more release for your back, definitely check out Blissful Backs. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.